Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn. We're going to talk with Dr. Fred Cohen. He is a headache specialist and one of the few in the United States trained in both internal medicine and headache medicine. Dr. Cohen, welcome back to Late Night Health. You were on a couple of months ago. And with the time change this week, you have some pointers on that. And this was the hardest time change I can remember. And my wife and I looked at each other yesterday at about 7 o'clock, and our internal clock should have said 6. We both felt it was 9. Is that common?
Yeah, no. So the time change is definitely a common topic that patients bring up to me. Both fall and spring. It's not just spring forward, but also fall back. And one thing to really generalize is the importance of sleep and headache health, because that's what it is. It's a change in sleep habit if you want to break it down to its most basic sort of thing. First, what is sleep? What does sleep do for us? And that's stumped humans for millennia, for a long time, because when we go to sleep, our hearts beat slower, our, stomach, all that stuff moves slower, but the brain is running. We have REM sleep, rapid eye movement, we're dreaming. So what's the brain doing? It's not resting, all right. What the brain actually does, what modern science has discovered, is the brain cleans itself when we go to sleep. That throughout the day, us talking right now, feeling, doing things, we use neuropeptides and transmitters. It's fuel, right? Well,
Right.
fuel has
You mean to
byproducts.
tell me that I'm not going to remember talking with you later on?
If you have poor sleep. But so all this, fuel that's spent, it's waste, and that waste could be inflammatory. So when we sleep, the brain cleans itself. When you have poor quality sleep, and notice I said poor quality, it's not just the quantity. It's also how, you could sleep for 8 hours. If you're always waking up, you're not getting good quality sleep. The brain can't clean itself right, henceforth inflammation. And that inflammation leads to headaches. And that's why we have in the spring forward, fall back, this, twice a year day, if you will, holiday, where everyone's sleep schedule gets adjusted, and that's why it's common that patients right around this time that they might have more headaches.
It's interesting to me that the federal government regulates the time change, not the states. Arizona and Hawaii are the two states that don't go on to daylight savings time.
And it almost passed, I forget if it was the House or the Senate in recent years, it actually almost got abolished, daylight savings. And I mean, I'll admit, I don't know I'm pretty sure it was invented for like farming purposes, meaning with sunlight. I don't really know that. It begs the question, how useful is it? Today? And I can't give the answer, but, most of the world, to my knowledge, doesn't really do this anymore.
Well, if you were in charge, would you have us on standard time or daylight savings time?
Well, I'm not trying to offend all the farmers out there, or for all I know, I'm about to make enemies real quickly, but I don't think it's, from my standpoint, and understand I'm only talking about it from a headache health standpoint.
Right.
I don't think it's necessary. I'm about to get a lot of hate mail for all I know.
Well, and I was reading about it the other day in preparation for talking with you. Apparently, it doesn't help or hinder farmers. They're going to get up to feed the pigs and to milk the cows anyway.
So I'll put this on my platform when I run for president. So just remember me. All right. If you guys elect me for president of the United States, I will abolish daylight savings.
Got it. Well, actually, abolish standard time, because I like the daylight savings time better. You mentioned that, when we sleep, our heart rate goes down. The body slows, but the brain is still chugging away. I understand that blood pressure goes up later in the day. And
In the day or with sleep?
I'm sorry, say that
Did
again.
you mean later in sleep or during the during the physical day?
Physical day, like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, um, your blood pressure could be higher than say 8 o'clock in the morning.
There's a lot of factors of that, and I can speak a bit on that because, as you mentioned, I'm sort of a much different than most headache specialists. Where I used to be a primary care doctor, I'm internal medicine boarded, not neurology boarded. So I've dealt with a lot with treating high blood pressure and low blood pressure. So there's no, I would say, simple answer to that because there's a lot of factors to what goes into people having high and low blood pressure. But you could think about it that during the course of the day, you're doing physical activity, if you're doing a lot of work and whatnot. It depends some there. If you're more stressed in the evening, that will definitely raise it. It depends also what sort of activities do you do. So I won't go as far as say that blood pressure is always elevated in the morning, you know. But I will say this, because this was something I commonly dealt with when I was managing people's blood pressure, is always make sure when you check your blood pressure that you're doing an accurate reading, meaning do it, so let's say you come home, let's say it's night, right? Let's say, Mark, you're going to check your blood pressure tonight. So I want you to sit down, be in a relaxed position, and then wait 2 minutes. That's the most important thing, because think about it. Let's say you come in the house, you walked up your 3 flights of stairs, you're like, I want to know my blood pressure. You sit down and you immediately take it. It is going to be elevated because you were
Because you
moving.
walked up 3 flights of stairs.
I can't tell you how many times that I've in my office where they do vital signs on the patient, their blood pressure is high. I have them in the office, I have them sit for a while, then I take it and it drops 20 points. So it's always important that you make sure you take your blood pressure in that sort of controlled setting. Be relaxed for a bit. Our blood vessels, our heart, it's all plumbing, it's piping. So if you're like a can of soda and you're just shaking about, it's going to be high. But if it's sitting still, then it comes back down. Our blood pressure is in flux. Our body's reacting to gravity and our positions. So that's why you want to do it when you're not in a moving state. Otherwise, it's going to be artificially high.
Can high blood pressure cause headaches?
Oh, without a
And
doubt.
yeah,
So
and can the time change because of the stress of it cause higher blood pressure and then the headache?
sure, I'm not going to go and say like, oh, we need to abolish daylight savings from stress and whatnot, but anything that causes stress will raise blood pressure. So if it is causing you without a doubt stress, yes. And, elevated blood pressure can certainly cause a headache without a doubt. To the point that if someone comes to my office and they say they have a headache, well, I imagine they're having a headache, they come to my office and
Yeah,
the blood pressure is very high, 180 specifically or higher, that's actually an emergency. They have to go to an emergency room for, because that's like now we're getting too high because I'm not trying to scare a lot of those listening, but a sudden headache could be a warning sign that your blood pressure is too high. We call that hypertensive emergency. So, and for some people, like I know my own father, when his blood pressure is rising, he knows it's going up because he starts getting a certain kind of headache.
interesting. That's on the way back from picking up the smoked salmon, the lox, because of the extra salt in there. Does salt
All the
actually?
nitrates.
Yeah, right. Um, One of the things that as America ages, there are two over-the-counter meds, ibuprofen and
Mhm.
acetaminophen, which are used often for headache control.
Sure.
Should people say after 50 or 60 stop using these drugs and look for other?
No, there's no hard rule for that. Again, this comes with what, hopefully, knocking on wood here, that we're all in good health as we get older, but certain conditions as we get older might have to stop you from taking those treatments. I'll give an example. Tylenol um, is metabolized by your liver. So if you, hopefully not, but as you get over, if you start suffering from like, liver disease, that may be a reason that you can't take it anymore. Ibuprofen can act on the stomach and intestines as well as your kidneys. So it's very common when we, get to advanced ages that our kidneys will start to degrade. It's a very natural thing. I
When
haven't
we
had
come
that.
back, Dr. Cohen, we're going to talk about what is advanced age, because I want
Sure.
that number. I want to know if I'm there or not.
I
I'm
think you're
Mark
a lot of
Allen.
people.
I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne, here on Late Night Health. Join us at latenighthealth.com. That's latenighthealth.com. Take it away, Daryl. Late Night Health is proud of our partnership with the EBC, the Evolutionary Business Council. Check them out at ebcouncil.com.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Alyn. The show continues in a moment.
Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com.
If you're listening to Late Night Health right now, you're part of the growing target of baby boomers we're serving. Hi, I'm Daryl Wayne, producer of Late Night Health, inviting you to join the Late Night Health family. If you have any business targeting the growing boomer market, Late Night Health is the ideal advertising vehicle for you. From vitamins to insurance, alternative health to Western-style medicine, Late Night Health caters to the growing population of those over 40 years old. This vibrant demographic has expendable income to fight aging, purchase travel, take care of aging parents, or just have fun. Find out about the advertising opportunities with Late Night Health. Call us at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308, or email us at info@latenighthealth.com. That's info@latenighthealth.com. Join Late Night Health as we empower people to take charge of their own health care. Call now at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Words are a critical aspect of success. How you get your point across is a crucial part of what makes anything sell. So do it right and hire a writer. Whether it's articles, blog posts, technical writings, website content, product descriptions, or ghostwriting anything from a novel to a nonfiction book about your navel, contact Servet Hassan. If you want it to sell, write it right. Email Servet at servet@servethassan.com.
It's time to tackle a tough topic, one that affects us all. We're talking about sexism in the workplace. The award-winning Identifying the Elephant in the Room series is back and ready to tackle some complicated communications issues again. This spring, we're focusing on critical communication strategies in the face of sexism. Join us as we hear from professionals in the natural products industry who have valuable career lessons to share and real-world experience to discuss from all sides of the elephant. It's time to have an honest and open conversation about the impact of sexism in the workplace and how we can make it better for everyone. Identifying the Elephant in the Room series starts March 16th. Register today at inicibox.vfairs.com. That's INICIBOX.VFAIRS.com, and join the conversation to be part of the solution. And Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. Our guest is Dr. Fred Cohen, and he is a headache specialist. He's also was trained in internal medicine. We talked about sleep a little bit. When you were going through your residency, you probably got, 2-3 hours of sleep a night?
On a lucky night, sure.
Yeah, on a lucky night. And I always question that, because you're not, when you're only getting that amount of sleep, you're not sharp. When I stay up late at night working on a video project, I know at a certain point I have to stop or I'm going to make a whole bunch of mistakes. Shouldn't, I mean, so we do need to have sleep.
Absolutely. I don't think you're gonna find anyone's gonna argue against that. Are you asking why is residency the way it is?
Well, I think it's changing.
It
Uh,
is. It used to be a lot more, residency is actually a really sort of interesting phenomenon. How did it start? The way it started, it's pretty wild, where the roots of it, back in the 19th century, medicine was sort of like any other trade job, meaning you got your certification, your degree, and then you apprentice. So let's say I went to a medical school. When I'll be done, I would find Dr. So-and-so, like, Dr. So-and-so, I think you're great. Can I, follow you in your practice for a year or two? And that's what you did. Then you went off and did your own practice. It wasn't until the turn of the century, to the 20th century. I'm blinking on his name. I can't believe I forget, but he was one of the founders of Johns Hopkins. He was also the father of anesthesiology. He figured out if I take cocaine and soak it in saline, inject it in your spine, you won't feel your belly. Because before then, anesthesiology was you took ether and you had a 50-50 shot of waking up or not, so he invented anesthesiology. So what happens is all these people, all these med school graduates wants to hang out with him. They want to do apprenticeship. You revolutionized surgery. Can I train under you? But he got too many people. And he's like, okay, I have to set up a program. So he created the first residency, so what happened was Columbia, Harvard, they all were copying, like, oh, look at that program. Let's do what they do. Here's the issue. The doctor was addicted to cocaine. Cocaine you could buy from the pharmacy back in the day. So he never
right.
slept. That's where the schedule comes from. And everyone copied it. It used to be, I heard from my mentors in the 60s and 70s, they would do 36-hour shifts, 36 hours working straight. And you're like, huh? So that's outlawed, by the way. Now it's only
Thank
24-hour shifts.
goodness.
So I had to do 24-hour shifts in my second year of residency, and they were not fun. And I don't agree with them. I'm not gonna, but it's just that's the system of training of what we have. The argument is that you as a doctor, you always got to be ready for any scenario, and you need that experience. Yeah,
But if a doctor, on a is on shift and takes an hour and a half, 2 hour nap in the middle of that because he doesn't have to be with a patient, does that help make him or her more alert? That just a short nap like that and
well,
preventing a
sure.
headache at the same time.
When I used to be on 24s or night shift, if nothing was happening, then yes, I would go to the call room and I would go to sleep. And I had my pager or my intern, intern physician who's with me could get me if there was something that required my attention. So it's common that, people at night will go to sleep if nothing's happening. And that varied. I had nights where, and I trained in the pandemic. This is before the pandemic. Pandemic was a different story. Before the pandemic, like there were certainly quieter nights. Um, and if you had a chance to sleep, you had it. And some nights you were lucky you slept the whole night. Other nights you're running. You're running through a hospital, taking care of everything.
Yeah. And for those of us who didn't go to medical school because physics and chemistry and
Yeah,
other
the
things
reason
like
that's
that
for sure.
smacked us upside our heads, um, what about today in our society? We're so fast paced. We're in a soundbite society. So, I'll sleep when I'm dead is a common expression, but we shouldn't do that. We need to get 6 to 8 hours of night.
So yeah, you want to, that number has been between 6 to 8, depending on what sleep society. It's a very common thing. I was like that in my 20s, where it's like, okay, yeah, work, 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 work. I want to achieve anything. And you bet, especially, after the pandemic, and now in my 30s, I'm like, okay, like I don't do late hours at the office anymore. Like I used to have a 2 days a week where it'll be later. I cut that because like this is getting too much, you know. I cut back on some of my other, clinical obligations because yeah, like it's the everyone wants to achieve the American dream. And hard work is necessary, but there's a fine balance because the burnout, not just in physicians, in any field, burnout's a real thing. And it's a common thing time and time again. I hear from patients and friends that they overdo it. They burn themselves out. It leads to, behavioral mental issues, whether it's, you develop depression or anxiety. That's always important to, always take a step back and reevaluate and make sure you're not doing more harm than good.
Right. When we left our last segment, we ended it by saying that we were going to take a look at what is considered elderly.
Hmm.
Um, so the first part of that, before we get a number, is as we age, do we need more or less sleep?
So it's actually common. I wouldn't say the need remains the same, but it's more common as we get older that we sleep less. I would say it's actually common that it's just something where going to bed early but waking up earlier too. There's no the need I wouldn't say changes. That depends on whatever health conditions you have. Because probably at that age you're having some conditions, but generally it's common to sleep less than what you were doing before. Not by want, just by how your circadian rhythm is.
Got it. And what about the term elderly? It's something I resent. Over
So there's sort
over
of two
50, over
numbers.
60?
Yeah, there's two numbers. The lower number is over the age of 65, generally related with retirement. I call advanced age, where like meaning I start making decisions about what not to prescribe. Like, okay, hold up, around 70, 75. Really, like definitely 75. Meaning, for example, we were talking about ibuprofen before. If
Right.
someone's over the age of 75, I'm definitely going to be reviewing their chart a bit more finer because there's more likely conditions or something happening that would make me not want them to take that. Like um there's typically something either again, when we get to that age, naturally things are, degrading for lack of a better term. I haven't invented my recipe for immortality just yet. So generally someone might have a kidney issue or a stomach issue, and that means I can't give something like ibuprofen. So I would say, elderly, like it depends. Like again, most people retire on 65, but where I start doing it from a medical decision point making is 70 to 75.
Got it. Got it.
Like I'll give an example in the headache world. There's a class of drug called triptans. Very useful drug to abort migraine. Very useful. However, it can act on the cardiovascular system, your heart and your blood vessels. If you're over the age of 70, I'm going to be like, okay, hold on. Have you been evaluated for these things? If you're 60 and you haven't been diagnosed, I'm not too worried then. But someone age of 70, I'm definitely going to double check to make sure there's no cardiovascular stuff going on. That would be an example in the headache world.
All right. We only have a minute and a half or so left. What does Dr. Fred Cohen do in his spare time? What are your
In my
hobbies?
spare time, in the winter, I love to snowboard, and in the summer, I love golf. And I actually discovered golf in the pandemic. I get a lot of shtick like, "Oh, you're such a doctor, you like golf." I never played it growing up. It was my pandemic hobby, and it just clicked so well.
What about food and cooking? You live
Oh,
in the,
I mean, I live in New York City. I mean, food, sure, every single kind. I'll go to, I last night for dinner, I was in Koreatown, which is a section of Midtown, eating jjamyeon. Like I love food. I have every kind of cuisine in New York City.
one of my
You bet.
favorite cuisines, Korean food. Listen, Dr. Fred, we really appreciate your time and
Thank you for having me here.
our pleasure. And if you're having problems with the time change, in a couple days it'll go away. That's a yes or
Yes, usually once you have back in your typical sleep pattern, they should resolve. Yes, and if not, contact your doctor, see a headache specialist. I have a headache blog at headache123.com that I post things about this.
and we will
You can
have that
avoid
up on
that.
our line. We're out of time. I'm going to get in trouble here. Daryl, thank you.
My pleasure.
And this is Late Night Health. We'll see you next time. Have a great week. Most importantly, have a healthy week. Bye bye for now.